Howdy, folks. Sorry, I just thought I would mix it up sometimes. Today I would like to introduce you to the Panda. So you may remember the Geo Ibanez I also wanted to work on and made a complete video series about. Turns out I ran into quite some trouble, and the video series would have turned out very depressing to watch. So I would rather just talk about it here right now, about the plans I had originally, about the compromises I had to make, and the trouble I ran into, and then the losses I had to cut. Is that how you say it? I had to cut my losses at some point eventually. Yeah, this is an Ibanez Geo, so GRG170DX. With a really stupid tremolo bridge here. The arm is not even in existence. I have no idea where it went, and a really annoying signal coil in the middle that was just placed way too high, and you couldn't get it any lower, and it was constantly right in the way of my picking. Super annoying guitar, actually. So what was my plan originally? So you can already see the color scheme that I went with. The top is white, and then the sides and the back are black. There's still some scribbly stuff here that my brother drew on. And so the idea was that color scheme, and then get the Seymour Duncan Invaders bridge and neck pickup in white. And then, you know, the white with the fat black bolts, and then the black and white color scheme. The name, the Panda, would have been quite the good fit, in my opinion. And I kind of think I like pandas. Pandas are fun. And for that, of course, I kind of had to also figure out how to close up that single coil slot. And I made some research, and I had a few different ideas of how to do this, and ideas were given to me, of course. But all in all, in the end, it turned out to be quite the hassle. It would have been quite the time investment and energy investment. And then I was thinking, is this guitar really worth it? Because to close up this hole, I neither really have the skills nor the tools. So it just wouldn't have worked out perfectly. Also, I most likely would have had to strip down all the paints and then route out a nice clear square, and then put in a nice clear square piece of wood. Just glue it in there. You would have to build a clear frame for this to route out that clear rectangle, and then the whole workload just kind of went bigger and bigger from there, the more accurate you wanted this to be. And I thought this guitar is not quite worth it, actually, because it's an alright guitar. I mean, it's a Geo, and you do notice it at some spots. For example, I don't like the shape of the neck. It's not all that comfortable for me. It's not a slick, thin C shape, and I absolutely don't like the inlays on the fretboard. I think they look horrendous. And also, you can't set the action low enough, so you would also have to put some kind of, I think you call it shimmer or something, in here to raise the neck height. And that would have been more money investment, and then everything just kind of blew out of proportion. But still, I notice I need some guitar in a medium drop tuning. I have my 7-string in drop A, I have my reworked Ibanez in standard tuning to accompany the 7-string, but I still need something in between for some cool riffage stuff that's not so deep and mighty and powerful. And yeah, so at the time, I didn't do anything yet to the guitar. It was still black. I just took out all the electronics and just put my Seymour Duncan Invader in here that I still had from my other Ibanez hanging right behind you. But that, of course, looked horrible. It looked so horrible. I didn't even want to look at it, let alone play it. Like that glossy, clear black, and then no pickups in here, and then there's the black Seymour Duncan Invader. It just looked tremendously bad. And then I was thinking, well, perhaps I can do it in a way that I still get my color scheme here, but kind of give it a more shoddy look. So I just leave out here the pickups altogether, and I just put one volume knob in here and leave out the rest. And then I do something to the paint to make it look even shoddier, like sand it down to the black again at spots where it would naturally wear, like around here, and perhaps around the pot, and here beneath the strings and whatnot, and also around the corners as if it was really used. And I thought, well, that's kind of doable. I just put one coat of paint in there, and then I sand it down at spots, and that's doable. That's still a workload, I think, that we can take care of. But then I made one stupid rookie mistake, and I warmly recommend you not to do that. See, the first coat I put in here. First of all, of course, I sanded down the top surface here, not to the wood. I just made the surface rough with 180 sandpaper that's specially made for finishes, not for wood, just to roughen it up. And then I taped off the sides and the back, of course, and I sprayed the white on top. And that coat looked pretty good. I mean, for what it was pretty good quality. Of course, one or the other dust spot that you just can't avoid when you don't have a real spray painting booth. But all in all, I thought that this turned out quite good. Except for one or the other spot where I didn't put enough paint and just the slightest bit of dark was coming through, the slightest bit of black from beneath. And then the next day I wanted to put on another layer to really get a nice white solid coat to work on. And there's where I made my mistake. See, stupid me didn't read the instructions on the spray can. What you're supposed to do when you finish with your spraying session is hold the can upside down and spray it until the cap is empty, until there's no more paint in it. And of course I didn't do that. That means the next day the cap had some dried up paint in it. So the second coat I put on wouldn't actually create a very nice solid skin of color and finish. Rather, it would make droplets. And that was really, really stupid. And that was quite the bummer. Then I was thinking, well, what to do now? What to do? How can I cut my losses? So I sprayed on a really thick coat that those droplets would actually form a clear surface. But at certain spots, it would rather make this Ripley skin, that kind of looks like an orange skin. So I just had to let it dry again for a day, and then sand it down, hoping for the best, that I can still kind of get a smooth, even surface, and it's all kind of saved. But not quite. Sadly, there's still this one spot here. I don't know if you can see this on the camera, if it comes through. There's one spot here that's a little bit darker, perhaps. You can see it as a darker spot. See, that is where a lot of that Ripley skin was happening. And actually sanding it down, I noticed that it has like the littlest, tiniest pores in there. Like little tiny air bubbles that actually formed beneath that Ripley skin. And I couldn't quite sand that away. I couldn't quite sand it down enough without making other spots sanding away the white completely here around it. So I just have this darker spot in here now with a lot of tiny holes. And that's, quite the bummer. Perhaps I'll just put some kind of stick on here, like a panda head. So it rightfully still has the name the Panda. And then, also the sides. I made a rookie mistake. See, for the second coat, I didn't retape it. I just left the tape, and what I didn't know, the paint would actually loosen the tape a little bit. It would kind of damage the glue from the tape. And so in different spots, the paint was actually running down the sides. But fortunately, I could still sand those away, and that's all good. But stupid thing again is on the corners, the black finish actually comes off far too easy. Actually, it seems like the black coat here, the black finish that was on here was really thick, but on the edges it just came off very easily, and at some spots the wood is actually poking through. So that's also not cool. Not cool at all. Not cool, yeah. And now I'm stuck with this. But what's cool is, you can perhaps see the sides and the back, they aren't high gloss anymore. I just sanded this down very lightly with steel wool, and it kind of gives the black this brushed look, and I quite like that. I like it when the surface has some sort of structure to it, instead of just being one clear solid color. And that's also kind of what I did to the white here when I had to sand down the problem areas. I also sanded the whole surface in one direction to give it a kind of brushed look. I also don't know if you can see that. I know it's actually super cheap when you think about this, and I'm guessing the pros out there are just face palming majorly and shaking their heads. But yeah, for what this is and for the problems I went through and for how I had to really make things still work out, I think it's okay. It's okay. And now I'm also wondering if I should still get the white version of the Invader in here. It's $100. And then I just have to wonder, is that really worth it? Also, I didn't put any clear coat on here because I was told you wouldn't technically need a clear coat because the spray paint here is already in a way that it's pretty much finished. But no. This actually, especially after being sanded, the surface feels rather rough. It gets dirty quite easily, and it also feels like you could scratch it off quite easily, and you could put scratches in there quite easily. So yeah, but what's done is done. Now I already put everything on there again, and now I'm thinking it's not worth it to disassemble everything again and then to put on a clear coat and then reassemble everything again. I think rather I'm just going to leave it like this, and perhaps also just let it wear over time. If scratches come in, if the paint wears down, that's totally fine. Originally I did want to give it a more shoddy look. Just at this point, I just wanted to leave it and not do anything further and perhaps even damage it any further. Yeah, then also this volume part I got here is again push-pull, so I can split the humbucker for if I wanted to do some metalish clean stuff with this guitar. But this is a bad part. This turns so easily. There's not enough resistance in the mechanics here. So you can touch it very easily, you can turn it very easily. That's kind of annoying, and it also makes little crackly noises when you turn it. So that's shoddy. That's not cool. And then also the headstock. The headstock looks too much like Steve Vai for me. The white and then the wood here on the sides. I'm thinking if I should just get some kind of, there are also the pens that have this kind of finish, this kind of, how do you call it in English? Lacquer? Just this paint as a pen and then draw black lines, like black binding around here. Of course, that's a totally stupid and cheap method, and I would also have to tape it off correctly. But I think it would look a bit more badass. Or perhaps also paint the sides here black, so it looks a bit more badass. But the wood with the white looks too much like Steve Vai, and I'm not a fan of his guitar designs, to be honest. Also the tuners. I just got black locking tuners. These were cheaper, around $40, and it also shows the screws here on top and the washers beneath those. The paint just scrapes off very easily when you screw them in there. And of course, one also already broke, and I had to put a screw from the old tuners in there. Luckily, it fit. So yeah, that's a bummer. Or perhaps I'm just stupid and I fastened them way too tight than they're supposed to. I don't know. What's also a little bit stupid is this is a 59 now on the B, and it barely fit through here. If I wanted to go thicker, and I actually need to go thicker, the 59 on the B is still too loose, weirdly enough. I'm going to have to drill the hole bigger, and I'm hoping this tuner can take it. I'm kind of afraid it would just break, and that would be stupid. Yeah, and of course the binding on the neck is a more weathered white now. It's a little bit darker than the clear white here on top, so that also doesn't quite fit. So there's really a shoddy, noobish DIY work here. But hey, at least the Seymour Duncan makes it sound badass. And that little bit of ringing you still hear behind the chops are actually the springs here on the string saddles. Yeah, so that's kind of stupid too. Guess I have to take those out. Yeah, while we're at the bridge, also with this look, the chrome bridge, I don't quite like that. I would have liked a black bridge. So, but yeah, what can you do? What can you do? It is what it is. At least it kind of looks alright from 10 meters away, and it gives me good chops on the drop B, so I still have that to work with. What's also interesting, just unplugged acoustically, but because of the open pickup slots here, the guitar has this kind of nasally broken old radio quality to it. But that's really just in those open slots. It's not in the strings. The pickup doesn't pick that up. Yeah, I don't use a lot of gain, a lot of distortion, so pinch harmonics on the lower strings are kind of difficult for me. Yeah, and that's the story of how this guitar came together. Again, don't make the mistake I made. Read the instructions on the spray cans if you're doing refinishing yourself, and really follow the guides you find on the internet and tutorials you find on YouTube. Follow them very closely and pick up every single bit of information you can, because this is not easy work. Okay, you really have to think things through. When you make a mistake, it can be quite difficult to... Don't interrupt me. When you make a mistake, it can be a little bit difficult to fix that again later on with this kind of paint stuff. Oiling a guitar is much simpler. You just strip down the paint, you sand it very nicely and evenly as high as you can to up to 320 grain, and then you put on code after code and sanding in between, and there's not much you can do wrong with that. With refinishing, you can do a lot wrong. Also with the lack of logo up here, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do yet. I mean, I found the Ibanez headstock logo as a vector file, and my dad could print that out, and perhaps I could just put it on here as a sticker. I know that would be kind of cheap again and very, very shoddy DIY, but hey, this is a cheap and shoddy guitar, so why not try some cheap method and just see how it works out? I mean, there's not much I can really do wrong with this guitar anymore. I guess at this point it's just a good practice guitar to do some modifications on. It is what it is, you know, it is what it is. One more thing I would like to address. This is something that really, really stumped me. It's so weird. When I disassembled this guitar, I noticed on the electronics there are 2 ground wires. One from the bridge. Okay, that's totally normal. That's how it's supposed to be. A ground wire from the bridge just going to the volume pot. And then there was a second ground wire that was coming from the directions of the pickups. And you may see that here in the single coil slot. I hope I can make that right. So here on either side of the slot, you can see the holes for the screws. And then on this side there's an extra hole, an extra drilling hole. And that is where that second grounding wire was just screwed into. That does not make any sense. It was soldered to the ground on the volume pot, and then it was on the other end just screwed into the wood. And on the bottom side of the single coil, there was this foam layer that acted like the springs on the screws for the humbuckers. So that grounding wire was not connected to any electrical connection. It was just screwed into the wood. And on the other side, it actually pokes through this hole. On the other side, it's also not touching anything metallic, anything that could be of significance to the electrical circuit. So that second grounding wire did not make any sense whatsoever. So that is a mystery that I haven't figured out yet. If you know what that is about, then please leave it in the comments below. Otherwise, I think Ibanez let some intern do that. I seriously have no idea what they were thinking. I mean, you put time into that. Okay, you put time and material into screwing an extra grounding wire in there, filling it through the holes, and then soldering that to the ground, and it doesn't do anything. Why would you do that? It's insanity! But yeah, before I get my blood pressure up, I rather just not care. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I could give you something this time on the side of how not to do it, instead of the side of how to do it. So negative examples are also something to learn from. You don't always have to make mistakes yourself. Also learn from the mistakes of others. And with that, I wish you a nice day, and I shall see you next time.